Okay, so call the meeting to order with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone to the special meeting on September 30th, 2025. And this meeting is to discuss the architect recommendation for the jail. So good morning, Ron.
Good morning, everybody.
And before you start, Ron, I would just like to say a thank you to everyone that did work on this. Appreciate it. There was the jail committee worked with interviewing several different architects, and I'll let Ron take it from there, but I just wanted to put out a thank you to everyone that put their time into that.
So I'm gonna read a statement and then the jail committee's other members of the jail committee are behind me and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. So on September 24th, 2025, the jail committee conducted interviews with 3 architect firms. Elevatus, JLG, and Klein and McCarthy. And it is the jail committee's recommendation that Walsh County offer Elevatus a contract to perform architectural services for the new Walsh County Jail. And I'll stand for any questions, and I know the rest of the committee members are here to answer any of the questions.
Denny.
I might add, we had a total of 7 firms that applied for it. We narrowed it down to 3 that we did in-person interviews.
It was a very extensive process, the whole getting the ranking the firms, we narrowed it down, like Danny said, from 7 to 3 to interview. We had some really good applicants. It was a impressive list of architects, and it was a tough decision, but I think we came up with a great architect firm, and we're very confident in moving forward with this.
Oh,
I guess I'm curious, is there like a price difference? What was kind of the basis of the?
So Jason can talk to this a little more, but price is not a factor. You can't use that as a decision making in this process. So the price is not going to be. Jason, you want to talk on that a little?
We don't work with prices. This is all evaluation on the skills from the architect and the people that they bring in to see who's there for it. So as you're working off of their skills and their basis that way, and then you go into contract negotiations for prices afterwards.
Okay, so price has not come up yet.
Not at all.
Okay, that makes.
So in your decision, apparently your experience and knowledge and the way they handle things stuck out then?
Very much so, yes. You want to speak to that, Kelly or Tony or Jason?
Well, I wanna say it was very close, I think, in those top 3, and even more importantly, the top 2 were very, very close. So, but you have these questions and you rank them or give them a certain amount, and I think even though they were close, we had one clear Elevatus came out on top based on that, and so yeah. I think again, I would echo Ron saying that we had really, really good candidates, and that was a very hard and tough decision, and that's ultimately the decision that was made.
I think that's what's encouraging for the jail committee is the amount of people that are interested in this project. And we've heard that from the architects, about the construction managers, that there's a lot of interest in this project. And so we got some really good applicants for the architect, and we're very excited about moving forward.
sure.
Have we been involved with Elevatus in the past? I mean, I'm just wondering from a
Yes.
continual perspective, will we basically will just keep going then, being they were the choice?
So just to refresh your recollection, we started with Klein and McCarthy.
Okay.
And then we switched over to Elevatus, and Elevatus has been with us through the community meetings, and all of the previous drawings were from Elevatus, so there's a lot of, we're used to them, they're used to us, and of course, that was a factor in the decision making, I think, on my part anyway. The continuity.
I don't remember, where are they based out of?
They are based out of Indiana.
South Bend, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds right, yeah.
Paul,
Yeah, I have some concerns about the project in general, and I think I just need to say this. I talked to Grand Forks Commissioner last week. And some of the concerns I have is that Grand Forks just did their 82-bed addition. They can't find jailers. It's sitting empty now because they can't hire jailers. He said they're advertising $50,000 a year jobs and they can't fill them. They currently have 42 ICE prisoners in their regular jail. So I'm concerned about us being able to hire jailers. I'm concerned about us, particularly women jailers. We're gonna need women jailers, prisoners, so that makes our problem a little more complicated.
excuse me, Paul.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, and please don't take this in the wrong way, but I don't think we can discuss any of this. Maybe Kelly put me on the straight and narrow, just because today is a special meeting just about hiring the architect. Can we go into other discussions like this? I guess that's my concern. I just wanna make sure we're doing things right. I don't
No,
mean
no,
to,
I appreciate that,
yeah.
but can I just comment on that?
Mhm.
We're about to hire an architect, and I guess my concern is this is gonna be basically my last opportunity to make this point, and that's why I brought it up.
Okay, and I'm fine if you can continue. I'm just gonna ask for guidance from our state attorney.
I think because it is related to the jail, we are, going forward with regard to the architect. I don't see that it's way out of the subject matter enough that I would say it's still appropriate.
Okay, all right, okay, I'm sorry for the interruption, but again, just wanted to make sure we're okay, so
Sure.
carry on.
No problem, appreciate that. So my concern is not being able to hire jailers. We have, we've used all of our capital project mills are going to be going towards this jail, so they're not available for other capital project needs, so that's another concern, because we talk all the time about all the issues we have with all of our buildings. The other thing is that this plan really doesn't address the sheriff's office, which is another concern, and so as soon as the paint's dry on this, we're gonna have to figure out how to come up with another multi-million, no matter what we do, we're gonna spend in the millions of dollars to satisfy that problem. The deal with the county of Grand Forks and the state of North Dakota fell through, mainly because the county found out that when the state releases their prisoners, they're going to release them in Grand Forks. And Grand Forks County said that was non-negotiable. They didn't want anything to do with that. I have those same concerns. If we're gonna hold state prisoners here, we're gonna have the same problem. We're gonna have state prisoners being released into our county. that's something I think that needs to at least be considered, so. They're sitting on 82 beds, they're 40 miles away, he suggested that we get the two commissions together. And have a conversation.
Who is he?
Uh,
Or another commissioner, you said?
Commissioner.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if you think so.
So I'm throwing it out there for the sake of the discussion, I think. At this point, I think it's something to consider, that's just my opinion, and as I said. Once we hire an architect, it's gonna, then the horse is out of the barn at that point, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay. I would just like to go back to the study that was conducted. And we did use Grand Forks as our point of transporting prisoners. And that study showed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, but I believe that study showed that it was going to be 54 million to transport over, was it a 20 or 30-year period? Where the new bill for the entire project was 42 million. It was more to transport than it was to build, and now we've cut our project down substantially. So I guess I would wanna take that into consideration.
The problem I have with those numbers is those numbers assume 47 prisoners, and I'm not.
Well, it was on a range though,
Yeah.
they didn't do 47 from the start.
Right,
1 to 10 years was so many, 10 to 20 was so many.
right, but it
prisoners.
assumes you're gonna get to.
And then you eventually
or
get to
46, I guess,
Mhm.
and how many prisoners do we have now?
I think we have 8 in our jail and 4 out in other facilities.
Yeah, I struggle with getting to 47, I don't know where that number comes from, and I know what I asked the question in the conversations in the public meetings, and. They said they looked at the numbers and this is what they came up with, I never really got a clear answer of how they came up with it.
Ron?
So, we are a 90-day facility right now. We would change to a 1-year facility, which would give us the ability to house some of those people that are going to the penitentiary and getting out in a short time. We would be able to have our work release brought back. So the people that are sentenced here would be able to go out and continue to work out in the community. So there's several factors with that. I think we have been in dialogue with the Grand Forks Commission before about contracting our prisoner, but Denny and myself went down to Grand Forks and met with them, and continually we were told that they do not have any room for us in our prisoners. We looked at that part of it. So if that wing doesn't get opened, they're not gonna have room for our prisoners anyway. We've always come back to, we need to take care of ourselves first and then worry about other people. I don't foresee us ever having state prisoners, especially if they're gonna release them back into our communities. So I don't think that's a factor. And as far as female COs are concerned, we can hire more female COs right now than we can hire male ones, so. And females can watch males, males can't watch females, that's the way the DLCR handles that, but I think staffing in all our facilities is a concern, but I think we've been fairly lucky, getting the interest we have in an old facility. I think if we build a new facility, there's gonna be a lot more interest for jobs in our area.
Madam Chair, the first thing I'd say is, I do believe that with the conversations that you had with Grand Forks were a while ago.
I think yes. but-
Commission has changed quite a bit, the Grand Forks Commission, there's been a lot of turnover on their commission, I visited with Grand Forks County Sheriff myself. Fully wanting to work together, I guess from a business owner perspective, and the potential of being able to have, of the possibility of then being able to give something for the sheriff's office. I'm all for, cause I agree with you, Ron, that you won't take state prisoners, but if we have beds open. Can we guarantee that? I mean, if we aren't filled, we don't have 40 some beds filled, we're gonna not take income, you know, or people here. I don't know that I can believe that that's a guarantee. So that's with knowing what's going on there, I really think, I agree, I'm for working together versus building something that puts us as a county in a hard space, and then we have a sheriff's office that we still need to address at some point. So I guess my question is what does it hurt to have the commissions come together? Does it hurt anything? In terms of discussion, to see potentials that could save us money or could save us? Any,
We still go back to the cost of transporting and housing. And it's been proven over and over again that it's cheaper to do it here than it is to transport to Grand Forks.
but if we're working together, that could change. I mean, they are obviously having issues too, so this is coming together, not just them declaring what we have to pay them.
But what would change, it's still gonna, we still have to transport our prisoners, so that cost is on us, so what would change?
Well, from a perspective of maybe we don't have to build as big of a jail, as many beds. And they would give us, we would develop a contract together. I mean, they need to fill their beds too.
So
So
you're thinking we would build a smaller jail and transport our excess to Grand?
I'm just saying, I would love to have a conversation to see potentials. Maybe they have ideas that would be good for us. Maybe it's a female thing, maybe, I don't know, but I'm someone who loves to put everything in front of me first before making a decision. And with how this has gone, it's been a grind, and I just think that it's wise that we do look at all options before we just keep plowing ahead. That's just me.
I guess I'm looking at, I get what you're saying, but the cost of us transporting isn't gonna go down. And they're probably gonna increase their, cause of just, we mentioned it earlier, food, you name it, everything's going up. So to me, what would advantage be of transporting them there, when we look at the study that said it's gonna cost us more to transport them than house them? I can't see that changing much. In fact, I see this going up more. Just cause everything, face it, gas, everything else is changing and everything else, and they. You know, it's still, if we ship them there, we're still responsible, like for health and everything else, aren't we? So,
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
it just, to me, there's no advantage of paying that to transport everything there.
Since we've done the study, the daily rate has gone up in Grand Forks, so that doesn't take that into account either, so. To your point, Amy, I think. They're still gonna charge us the daily rate, we're still gonna have having to bring them back and forth to court, we're still gonna have. The transport costs in the middle of the night, the taking the deputies off the road. We're still gonna have those issues, no matter what kind of contract we have with Grand Forks.
And so my point though is they're open to discussion, so when I think of that way, in my mind, what I think of is females. Because where do we say take females right now? Rugby, I mean, far, we take them far. So even if it's just that, that's what the sheriff and I talked about from Grand Forks is. And I understand that if there's a rate, but if they didn't offer to visit, I guess I wouldn't feel like there's any direction, but they have. So there's obviously a potential give on both sides, and maybe there's not, but I just would love to at least have that conversation.
I think, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I think the variable that I struggle with is the number of prisoners we're gonna get to. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, but I don't know how we get from the 12 we have today to 46 over the next 20 years and consistently 46. And that's how those numbers work. Those numbers work if you have that many prisoners. If you don't, those numbers don't mean it.
But if we only have 16 beds and, we have no work release, and we can only keep them for 90 days. That's how the numbers work. You allow us to have them here for a year. You have you bring work release back, you bring the ability for the judge to hold these people, instead of us in the middle of the night calling her and asking it, we can't find a bed for them anyplace. What do we do with them? So that's where we get to our numbers.
Jason,
When we were having our meeting too, I don't want to put words in Judge Whalen's mouth, but my understanding with her was that there's more people that are out right now because if we don't have space that she would have put in jail. So going off the numbers that we have right now doesn't take into account everything that from the judicial side on that part.
Tanya was next.
I just was gonna make the point that the 46, the number 46 can be misleading in a sense, because we had a lot of conversations in that study process that 46 is our maximum capacity, and it's really rare that all of the people that we bring in would meet the classifications of those beds that are available. So there's so much now when you're building jails about the classifications of those people, you know, if they're, what level of offender are they male, are they, it's not just male and female, there's so much more to it. So I think, I mean, they had said to us, what is the average capacity? Is it like we're wrong? What was that?
Was it 80%?
80 is what I recall too, honestly. So if you're operating at 80%, that's pretty normal. That we would have 80% of those beds filled. So I think that number 46 is a little bit misleading too when we get hung up on that. The other comment, just if I could back up briefly for a second, I'm just trying to refresh my own memory, but when we spoke to Grand Forks County years ago, when we started this process, weren't they already in the process of building this addition, or that was on
Yes.
the way, right? And we were told flat out at that time, we are building this for us, meaning Grand Forks County was building it for their own needs. And that there wouldn't be room. I thought we had been told that.
Yes.
Twice and then 3 or
But that's changed in the last year, that's changed.
Oh,
No.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm just thinking of Grand Forks, it seems about a year ago, whatever, time wise. We were getting one answer from the jail and one answer from the commissioners, they weren't on the same page. So is that still happening there, or are they all together now, or?
I think since the sheriff took over the jail, communication is a lot better. I know it is with me and him, and he's very willing to work with us. I absolutely agree with that. Aim. What happens when they fill up again? Because it's not when, it's not if, it's when. They taking state prisoners. It was a money thing, right? The state pays more than the counties do, the feds pay more than the state does. But what happens when they fill up with prisoners and we have no room? It's where we put them then.
Right, my question is if they're taking ICE, if ICE is, right, they're
Yes.
taking those prisoners, why would they take our prisoners over them? And if ICE is contacting us and needing room here, aren't they gonna fill up Grand Forks? Grand Forks is gonna take them first, because it's gonna be more money than what we can pay them. I mean, we might get some beds, we're hanging in limbo. And that scares me.
My conversation with the sheriff is that it would not be. If and when, it would be a discussion that there would be something that we would have guaranteed beds, and females literally came up, is what the conversation would be. It wouldn't be, oh, sorry, we said we'd offer you, and I asked him when we talked about this, and he basically said, we wanna help our neighbors to the north. That wasn't the feeling in the past, but that is not how he or the current commission feels. So I think it's a possibility, and when I look at it, do we need a new jail? 100% we do. But if we could build a jail and potentially have a sheriff's office instead of a jail, and now we have to figure out how to basically build a new sheriff's office because of what we currently are dealing with, we know it's coming, why wouldn't we consider it? That's my 80% is still 36.8 beds. That's 37 beds.
I guess when you say why wouldn't we consider it, I believe because Samuel's group said they absolutely would not recommend us building a smaller jail. We did ask that. You know, and we spent 5 years on this and we have relied heavily on professionals who work with this. And that was their answer to us, because we did ask about building a smaller jail. So maybe just downsizing the entire project, right? So we could get the sheriff's office as well. They said they would not do that.
He said that when he was here, I think in May.
Yeah,
He said he wouldn't recommend building a 25-bed jail, but
Right.
I still struggle with the size. I mean, and he knows more about jails than I do,
right.
admittedly.
That's how I feel,
But-
yeah.
I think also, something to keep in mind that if we contract for beds with Grand Forks, they're gonna want us to contract for beds, whether those beds are filled or not. So we're gonna be paying, money for soap to guarantee so many beds. Because that's what they want in the juvenile detention, is they want us to contract for 5 beds, whether or not we have any juveniles in detention or not. So we're paying, them a guaranteed amount of money for beds that we aren't necessarily using or utilizing as well. I just wanted to bring that up, 'cause I know that was an issue with regard to the juvenile detention bed.
Okay. And then my other concern goes back to the discussions we had during the jail meetings, safety of our citizens. You know, if we're transporting all our inmates, where are our deputies? They're on the road transporting, and you had specific instances where we've already ran into problems, Ron, because our deputies were transporting the prisoners and not here in the county doing the job that we need them to do. Also, you know, just the cost of vehicles, we talk about how expensive vehicles are, well, if you're constantly using those vehicles to transport, you know, there's gonna be another cost associated there, I mean. I think we just need to go back to our roots and remember everything that we discussed and all the questions that did come up at our public meetings and the good discussion and the judge's comments. Those things have not changed.
I'll make a motion, we hire Elevatus for architectural services.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Denny,
Yes.
Amy, no. Paul,
No,
Ernie,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carried. All right, were there any public comments?
No
Submitted.
comment.
Okay, no public comments submitted. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.